My name is Ken Davidian, and welcome to Season 2 of Organization Theory in Space. In this season, each video covers a single chapter of the Oxford Handbook for Organizational Change and Innovation, 2nd edition, edited by Marshall Scott Poole and Andy Van de Ven. This video covers Chapter 3 of the handbook, entitled Dualisms and Dualities in the Ongoing Development of Organizational Development. In this chapter, we'll talk about 3 major developments in the field of organizational development, or OD, including the different approaches of Diagnostic OD and Dialogic OD, the is it alive or is it dead dilemma of OD, and the scholar-practitioner divide within the OD field. Let's jump right in. The first major development involves the diagnostic versus the dialogic approaches to OD. The diagnostic approach of OD was taken for granted since its inception in the 1950s as an approach to organizational change that grew from the action research movement with a focus on problem solving based on the epistemology of positivism and objective reality. OD used rational approaches to discover and solve problems within an organization, resulting in episodic solutions to the way people approach their tasks. The dialogic approach of OD that explicitly emerged in the late 1960s took the epistemological view of social constructivism. If the diagnostic approach focused on identifying problems, the dialogic approach took a more positive focus that was believed to energize the change process more than the diagnostic approach. The dialogic approach relies on multiple viewpoints, confronting opposing viewpoints, new understandings, shared meanings, relational reflexivity, and generative conversations. When researchers looked back at the earlier OD approaches, they found that even the diagnostic approaches included dialogic elements. Even though the diagnostic divide was seen as a dualism, also characterized as either or, in reality, it was more of a duality, sometimes characterized as both and. It is possible that there exists, or can exist a dialectic, a more than result from exercises of reframing, transcendence, connecting, third spaces, dialogue, reflective practice, and serious play. The second major development in OD is the simultaneous announcement that OD is dead by some and OD is alive by others. Scholars who pioneered organizational development do not necessarily recognize the new approaches as part of what they understood OD to be. OD originalists offered new monikers for the new approaches, such as change management or strategic change. Prominent examples of the newer OD approaches include large group interventions, appreciative inquiry, and action learning. The two camps of OD is dead and OD is alive hold different assumptions around 4 main questions. Firstly, regarding how appropriate the label of OD was, the OD is dead camp thinks the new approaches should not be called OD, basically choosing to ignore their membership in the OD world, whereas the OD is alive group think of the OD label as being all-inclusive. As a corollary to the first assumption, the OD is dead camp thinks if the label is overly general, it basically becomes meaningless, whereas the OD is alive perspective again, thinks that the OD label is all-inclusive. The OD is dead camp thinks that the new approaches do not address current concerns, in total contrast to the perspective of the OD is alive camp. And because they don't recognize the new approaches as being part of OD, the OD is dead camp believes there's not much life left in OD. After all, they believe OD is dead. If that's not a tautology, I don't know what is. The third major development of OD is the scholar-practitioner divide. The question here is not whether the divide exists or not, but to what degree it exists and in what direction it's moving. The earliest OD consultants were scholars, but as time progressed, the number of OD approaches increased dramatically, and now the field of OD practice is filled with consultants with no academic affiliation or little academic background. And this is no problem as long as there are attempts to bridge the gap between scholar and practitioner. In fact, the National Training Lab started the Journal of Applied Behavioral Science in 1965 to bridge this gap, but more recently they've spun off another journal, Practicing Social Change, that is solely for the practitioner. Unfortunately, this seemingly signals a widening of the gap. Other attempts to bridge the gap include the creation of practitioner doctoral programs in OD, as well as brief summaries and videos of academic works in the field of OD designed to be consumed by OD practitioners. So to wrap up, how can we get from the either or both and perspectives of OD to a result that is more than either of the two? Two important ways include reflective practice and serious playfulness. Reflexive practice explores the current tensions to foster the dualities instead of the dualisms. And to encourage reflexive practice, serious playfulness can be employed using elements of comedy such as satire and irony. So that's a wrap for this third chapter of the Oxford Handbook of Organizational Change and Innovation. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing to the Impossible Research YouTube channel so you can be notified of new videos as they are released. OT in Space was produced by IRL, which stands for Impossible Research LLC. IRL conducts process research on the topics of innovation and industry emergence within the space sector context. IRL also offers services of organization theory consulting, research consulting, and STEAM outreach. This video is intended for educational purposes only.